Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. On behalf of the Central American and the Caribbean Basin TESOL affiliates and then TESOL, thank you so much for being today with us. Today we have the opportunity to share very interesting research about um, about tech tools to implement flipped learning in your EFL context. Today we have the opportunity to be with Clara Onatra. She is currently enrolled in a PhD program in education at, at Universidad de Baja California. She works as a professor and researcher at Universidad Libre in the BA in Foreign Languages program. Her research interests are ICT in education, flipped learning, autonomous learning, and second language acquisition. Today, she is going to talk to us about tech tools to implement flipped learning in your EFL context. And this webinar abstract is whether you know what flipped learning is or you have no idea about it, you shouldn't miss this webinar. It will present a general assumptions regarding this pedagogical approach and will show certain effective tools to be used when implementing flipped learning in an EFL context. So I am going to give your welcome, Clara, please. You can start with the webinar, please. Welcome.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
I'm pretty sure that they can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so welcome everybody. For me, it's just an honor to be here, to be part of this regional community. So I'm very happy here. And so we're going to get started with the information in relation to my topic. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Hope you can see my screen. Can you? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, so this is the name of my presentation, Tech Tools to Implement Flipped Learning in Your EFL Context. Okay, so this is the agenda for our session. Yes. Okay, so first, I wanted to know opinions in relation to flipped learning. I wanted to know your own opinions. So I saw that some people in the chat have answered some questions. Second, we're going to be talking about the definition and characteristics of flipped learning. Third, we will be talking about the pillars of flipped learning, and finally, of course, tech tools. Okay, so in relation to your opinions about flipped learning, I could see that some of you have been using this pedagogical approach, which is awesome. I learned about this like 2 years ago, and I liked it a lot. So I'm very happy to see this. Also, other people have told me that they relate flipped learning with videos. So we're going to see how it goes. So actually, this is the next part, the definition and characteristics. So you will see some of my students' pictures in here because it's part of my job, and I really love this. So that's why you're going to see some of my students. So flipped learning, what is that? Okay, so first of all, it is a pedagogical approach, and I want to make an emphasis on this because a pedagogical approach implies a philosophy behind it. Okay, so it means that it is not a fashion just for a moment, but it's something that has a rationale behind it. Okay. So it is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space to the individual learning space. What does it mean? So when the teacher gives the explanation in class in the traditional mode, let's say, so students are just passive subjects paying attention, right? Or in quotation marks, paying attention, right? So this direct instruction is transferred to the individual learning space through videos or podcasts or readings, PDFs, PowerPoints, etc. So different kinds of giving like input to the students, right? And the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive learning environment. What does it mean? That students are in class all the time doing activities, interacting with the teacher, with their peers, right? So it is like another conception of education, right? So in here, the educator guides students as they apply concepts and engage creatively in the subject matter. So this is taken from the Flip Learning Network. And so as you can see, it's like a very strong definition. Okay. So characteristics of flip learning. So first, it's a pedagogical approach, okay? Second, it's a change, right, in the traditional class. So students are interacting, are moving, are doing activities, right, all the time. And it implies ICT usage, information and communication technology, right? So in here, I like to clarify that if you don't have technology because of the place you are in, etc., so it is not a barrier, so you can make use of all the resources, right? So it's also a good possibility, okay? Now, continue with characteristics of flip learning. So the lesson is given at home by the teacher, right? Homework is done in class equals flip learning. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you with an example. I'm going to explain to my students how to write an opinion essay, right? In the traditional class, so I give the explanation to my students in class, and students are like supposed to be paying attention to me, and then at home they start organizing ideas and they write their essay, right? But in here, as the lesson is given at home for students, so for example, I can do it through a video. So I explain to my students the steps and everything they have to do to write an opinion essay, right? They have to take notes, and then in class, I'm going to be there like to help them, because you know that is very difficult to write alone, and if you have questions, you don't have anybody to ask to, etc. So that's why homework is done in class, so I can be with my students, I can help them create their thesis, their topic sentences, etc. Right? So this is flip learning, so that you can see like how it works. Okay, now let's go over the pillars. So the pillars start with they take into account the acronym, right? Flip. So the first one is flexible environment, second, learning culture, then intentional content, and finally, professional educators. So I'm going to explain to you each of them in a very brief way. So the first one is flexible environment, right? So it takes into account different learning modes, right? So we give input to our students through different ways, like for example, through the video or PDF or PowerPoint, etc. So there are different ways, because some students prefer to listen to the teacher, others prefer reading, others prefer to watch teacher, right? So it depends. Flexible spaces, like for example, the seating arrangement that you can see here. I know that in some places it's difficult like to change that, but for example, you can go to the yard or you can go to the campus if you have something like that, or even you can go to another place. Later on, you'll see a picture of my students visiting a museum, etc. So flexible spaces, okay? That means flexible environment and flexible teachers. Flexible teachers because your lesson plan, you have something very well organized, but maybe all of a sudden something happens, so you need to be like ready to like overcome the situation or to change things while you are doing something, etc. So that means flexibility, okay? So learning modes, spaces, and teachers. The second pillar has to do with learning culture, right? So this is a learner-centered approach. So the teacher is not the center. I mean, the teacher is the one who prepares the material for the students, and students get ready beforehand, but it's not the center, right? So in class time is like the biggest chance that you have for your students, especially in our EFL context, for them to interact, to practice as much as possible the language, right? So learning to the fullest, all right? And in here, goals are more in terms of learning, not of grades, right? Which is sometimes, unfortunately, this is a common belief that I want to get a 5 or something. So no, it has to be changed. Okay, so this is about learning culture. So we change that learning assumption. Okay. Third, intentional content. Okay, so you create the content for your students, right? So I would like you to ask to yourself, what do my students need? All right, so you need to go over your students' understanding, okay? And you need to apply also learning strategies. So, for example, this is one of my videos, right? Precisely writing an opinion essay, right? So the content has to be direct to your students' needs, okay? It has to be focused on their understanding, okay? So that's in relation to intentional content. Finally, professional educator. I really like this one. It implies teachers' observation, feedback, and even assessment, right? When you observe your students, you reflect upon everything that happened, not only in class, but even in relation to the material that you create for your students, right? So you are constantly reflecting on everything that is happening, all right, with your students. And this leads you to, for example, creating a website. This is a website that I was creating with the help of one of my students, right? Where I have a blog where I started like to share with the people, with the public, let's say, some of the things that happen in the classroom, right? So that leads me to the next point, that is networking with colleagues. So maybe you're doing something that is very useful for me, or vice versa. Why not to connect, right? Why not to share things and like learn from each other, okay? So this has to do with professional educator, and those are the 4 pillars of flip learning. Okay, now tech tools. I know you're anxious to take a look at this, which is great. Okay, so in terms of resources, so my first recommendation is to have an LMS, okay? So it's a learning management system, okay? So maybe it may sound a little difficult to understand, but when you see the next slide, you will understand it. I know that you're familiarized with minimum one of them. So in here I have Moodle, Edmodo, Courseites, milaulas.com, and Google Classroom. The one that I've used the most is Edmodo, right? But this semester I'm going to start using Google Classroom. I would like to make an emphasis on this because I know that for teachers it's kind of difficult to try something new. We may feel like maybe afraid of that because you're used to doing something, and then to change like the paradigm or something is like, oh my gosh, I don't want to try something new because maybe it won't work or something. But that's my recommendation, like to change, to be risky, okay, to explore new things. For example, this semester I will explore this, which is new for me. I've been using Edmodo, right? So for example, I have this. This is like, I think that some of you are very familiarized with this. It's like a Facebook interface, right? So in here I have my classes. In here I type information for my students, a message, and it can be given in a like scaffold process, right? So it's very good for students. And why is the importance of having this? Because everything is in one place, right? Like via mail. And they were like kind of lost, like, when did the teacher send that message about blah blah blah? So it's better to have everything in here because you're more organized and your students understand it better, I think. Okay, so not only videos, as I was saying at the beginning, you can make use of different resources such as podcasts, so you can record something for your students, right, to listen to. PowerPoint presentations, okay, PowerPoint presentations, readings, PDF files, even the textbook that students use in class, and even pictures, right? So it's not only videos, although video, for me, it's a great resource, right? It's not the only thing. And I would like to make an emphasis on that. Now, for videos. Tool number one is Screencast-O-Matic. Okay, it's free. Okay, you can record a video for maximum 15 minutes. It's easy to use. You can publish it directly on YouTube, or if you prefer like to have the video on your online community just for you in a private way, so you can have an MP4 file. All right. So so this is, I mean, the first time that I record a video, it implied a lot of things. Like, for example, it's important for you to make the decision whether or not to appear on the video, right? Research has shown that students prefer to watch their own teacher, right? So you can create your own videos, or you can take other videos from other people, right? It's another possibility. You can curate them actually, but really students prefer to watch yourself. I mean, it's like you have a special connection with them. Okay, so Screencast-O-Matic is really easy to use. You just download it to your computer, and then you can start using that, and it's awesome. Also, the other thing is to create your YouTube channel if you want to start like sharing with the community. So that's not an easy decision. So you need to, I mean, you're going to be like public, but it's good because, as I was saying to you, we need to network. Okay, another great tool is Camtasia, right? It's easy to use. You can add annotations, add effects. Of course, it has more editing features, but it implies some money, right? In this moment, it's like $200 every 6 months or something like that. So yeah, it depends, because I know that it might be difficult for us. So that's why I prefer Screencast-O-Matic. Okay. All right, but if you are more into these and you would like to explore this more, so why not? Okay, the other possibility is to use your cell phone, right? So of course, it's a super easy access, right? It has apps within the system. So if you want to record yourself talking about something, okay, that's a good possibility. Okay, or even there are apps that you can use to record your screen, to record yourself, etc. Okay, now recommendations for your own videos. First, organize information beforehand. I mean, like to have a PowerPoint presentation, to have an objective, okay, to know your students so that you can take into account their needs, their likes, okay, and include that. For example, something that I like is to include pictures of them in my presentations. So I think that for them, it's something like meaningful, okay? Then keep videos short. There are some authors that have mentioned that students have to be, like, for example, if they are in first grade, so the video has to be 1 minute max. Second grade, 2 minutes max. Third grade, 3 minutes max, etc. But even I teach adults, and they really love having very short videos. I know that it's difficult for you to shorten a lecture that normally takes you like 40 minutes in the classroom, to have something like 10 or 15 minutes max, right? But this is the challenge, because it has to be concrete for your students. And remember that with the video or with the reading or something, with the video specifically, they can pause the teacher, they can rewind what the teacher has said, they can take notes, etc. So this is a good possibility, right? At key concepts. Okay, so key concepts is the most important. So it's, I mean, you cannot go around the topic, no, go direct to the point. Okay, use visuals, because students are very visual. And finally, is to cite resources. As you may see, I have some links below, images that are not mine. So because those, I mean, because of what is this, rights, right? So we need to be very respectful with that. We need to cite resources. Okay, now you have the video, or you're going to start using Flip Learning, and you would like to have some interactivity with videos, with the material, etc. So this is a great possibility. Okay, Edpuzzle. It says make any video your lesson, right? So you can use your own videos, right? Or you can use videos from others, okay? So you can add questions at any time, okay? And it also includes a gradebook, so you can see your students' progress. So we'll see in a moment. So you are here, so you can sign up using your Google account, which is okay. Here you have, well, popular channels, Puzzle, YouTube, so you can add videos from YouTube. Khan Academy, that is another good option for you to use videos from experts. National Geographic, very well recognized, and Tech Talks. Okay, so students love Tech Talks a lot, so this is a good possibility too. So you are in here, you can use videos that are already created, that are already made, or you can use your own ones. For example, in my case, I created a video about conditional sentences. So I included my video here, and when you see the green question mark, it means that I have a question in there. So my students can have access to that. They cannot continue the video till they answer the question. Okay, like for example, like this. In here, if they want to continue watching the video, they need to answer the question first. Okay, so this is a video about conditionals, and my students have to answer in here the question. You can have an open question, you can have multiple choice questions. I mean, there are different possibilities, and it's awesome. In here, for example, I have my classes. These are my classes, like for example, English Intermediate. And I have in here 34 new answers. So I can see what my students have done. Let's see. In here, I have this report, and I can even export results, reset all answers, etc. Okay. So for example, like this. This is very useful. I liked it. Okay. So, and that's why I told you that it's important to have an LMS, because everything is stored there. And for example, you need to send an invitation to your students to be part of this puzzle. Okay, that was one thing. Now, as I told you, that it's not only videos, we have also readings. So you can add questions to readings, right? So using Actively Learn, you just upload a PDF, or there are also PDFs in there. So you add questions or customize the questions that you may have from a ready-made activity, and you can have the discussion in class. Okay, so how does it work? So again, you sign up using your Gmail account, or you create an account, you create your classes in here. It has a code. Okay, then look, you can, even you can import your classes from Google Classroom. Okay, it's also a good possibility. Then in here, this is the content part. So this is the ready-made material for you. Okay, or you can upload something that you consider your students have to read, that is not in here, right? Okay. And then the good thing is that while your students are reading, again, you have to send them an invitation, or to import students from Google Classroom, or even an Excel file, so you can add your students in here. So they have access to this, and when the information is a piece of information, let's say, is highlighted, so it has an explanation in here. So for example, if your students have questions about vocabulary or something, so this is a good way to do that. In here you have the questions, and if you consider that maybe questions are kind of difficult, or maybe you want to make some changes, perfect. So you can go to customize, and you customize the questions as you want. Okay, maybe delete this, add more, etc. So this is a pretty good like software, or let's say like application that you can use with your students. You then assign to classes, and you choose to what class it has to be assigned. Okay, good. This is about Actively Learn, so you can see your students' responses as well. And so my invitation is to give it a try. Okay. Now, in terms of note taking, of course, students watch videos or read tests, or etc. So the input that you give to your students. So there are two systems that have been used in Flip Learning. The first one is the Cornell Notes, and the other is WISC, which means watch the video, summarize the video, and questions about the video. Okay, so this is what I use with my students. So they write notes about what they understood, if they have questions, and then the summary. Those questions are solved in class. And here is pretty similar. So watch the video, summarize what it is, and write down questions. And we discuss about those questions in class, okay? So this is a Cornell Notes, this is Whisk, but your students can have their own note-taking system. They may say to you, I don't like any of them, so I prefer to have mine. Perfect. So I don't know, for example, Diana's note-taking system, it's okay, right? So no problem. Now, after students have watched videos or approached the readings or the materials you have given to them, so we have different resources to be used in class. All right, in class. Remember that in class time has to be like, I mean, we need to take advantage of that because it's a treasure. In my personal case, I teach in the evening shift, so my students are working all day long, and they get very tired to class, so I need to have a lot of activities for them. So the first one is Padlet. What is it? It's a tool that allows you to brainstorm ideas, for example, or to have your students reflect about a topic, or simply give opinions, right? So for example, this Padlet is about Valentine's Day. Mm, in here there are different opinions from people. You can have a question for your students, or even, for example, you can have them reflect about a specific aspect in relation to the material you have given to your students beforehand. Okay, so this is good, and students love using technology. So, for example, this is a good way to do so. Another one is Flipgrid. I'm going to share my screen so you can see it.
Well, we are having some connectivity problems, so um, we're we're waiting that Professor Clara could reconnect, and we offer an apology because this is an unexpected event. So we hope that Clara could come back with us in this moment. Please wait with us because this is an unexpected event. So by now we're trying to contact Clara. So we're solving the situation now. Thank you so much for your understanding and your patience right now in this unexpected event, connectivity event that we're having now. So thank you so much for your understanding.
Okay. Okay. So could you see my presentation?
Hi, Clara, again. I can see you. We lost you, so we couldn't see the last part of your presentation. We lost you like, I don't know, the last 7 minutes, if I can remember. So we would like that you retake your presentation, please. And I think that is the last part. I don't know if you
do you remember from?
If you can share again your presentation,
Sure.
please.
Sure.
Because we lost you. You didn't notice?
No.
Okay.
Maybe this part?
No. The next one, there, I think.
Okay, perfect. So you couldn't watch.
Resources to be used in class. Yes, please, there.
Okay, so you couldn't watch the video?
No, we couldn't. We lost you completely. So please retake there.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody. We will continue. Thank you.
Okay. I'm so sorry, didn't notice that. Okay, so I was saying to you in relation to resources you can use in class. This is something that I used last semester with my students, and we love them. We love this, right? So it's Quiver, okay? That is for augmented reality. So you just have printed out version of I don't know, it can be a bear or a dinosaur or yeah, whatever, and students color it, and then they install the app, and they have something like this.
Started to study in Sunnyside. Sunnyside looks like a normal elementary school, but it was a misery around it. Fiona was in her first school year. She was very shy. Because of that, she couldn't make friends easily. For that reason, she spent her breaks in the classroom playing with toys. With the passage of the time, she knew that the toys were alive. When she discovered that, she was very, very happy because she thought that she would never feel alone again.
But what she didn't know was that they didn't get a
Okay, so I hope that you.
Excuse me, Clara.
Yes.
The part that where we lost you was in Padlet. Where were you talking about Padlet, please?
I'm here. Sure. Okay. Could you watch the video?
Excuse me?
Could you watch the video?
Yes, we could. We could.
Perfect.
It's really interesting, but the participants are commenting that we lost you in Padlet, where we.
Okay, got it.
About Padlet.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, we're here. Thank you. So, Padlet, yes, but we're talking about resources that you can use in class, because remember that in class time, it's a treasure, right? So, Padlet, it's a good possibility for you to brainstorm ideas, sorry, to have your students brainstorm ideas, right? Have them reflect on a topic, okay? Or simply give opinions about something, right? About a specific topic. In this case, it's Valentine's Day, okay? So, you create an account, okay? And you create a discussion, and you can have your students use different media to give an answer to that. So, for example, it can be in a written way or through a picture, or even they can record. Okay, so this is very useful, and you can use it in class, like to have your students doing any of these activities or even another one. Okay, Flipgrid. I was saying to you that I learned about this new app this year in a course that I'm taking with Evo sessions about flip learning through TESOL International. Okay, they offer courses for free that are professional, or they mean professional development, and I like that. Okay, so resources to be used in here. Flipgrid is awesome because you create a video and your students have to reply using a video format too. Okay, if they don't want to appear like as they are, so they can use other things, let's say like decoration or other things, to change a little bit their image. But it's good because, for example, for a speaking test or for a speaking exercise, let's say, so your students can act out in here. They can have a recording of maximum a minute and a half. You can customize that in the settings part, but it's still great. So, for example, like for having your students like reflect on their own speaking performance, so this could be a great activity. Okay, I was talking about Kahoot, that some of you are very familiarized with this. This is not only for quizzes, but also for like checking trends in class. Like, for example, what would you do if you were in this situation? A, B, C, or D? Ooh, and then to have like different opinions to see what answer is, it's, let's say, like more trendy, okay, or more common with your students. Okay, Kahoot is very useful. Plickers is another activity that you can do with your students when you don't have a lot of technology, let's say. In here, it implies that the teacher has a smartphone, and that of course, it has to be installed. And each student is going to receive a QR code that has 4 sizes, as you can see here. Okay, it has 4 sizes because it is in agreement with the letter of the option that he's going to say it's right. So you need to have a PowerPoint presentation, for example, with a question and 4 options max. Okay, and you're going to have your students answer the question, right, based on this. So for example, if my question is A, I need to have my QR code this way, so having this on the top. If my question is B, for example, this on the top. C, this on the top, or this on the top. And then the teacher has the cell phone with a camera, and he scans everybody's answers, right? And he gets, look, for example, in here, this question, the correct answer was C, and he can see who got it right or wrong. Okay, so this is a good way also to assess or to ask questions about, I don't know, like a free topic, okay, etc. Quiver, that was the one that I told you. And finally, other sources to be used in class time. Okay, so it's not only technology, so you can also use or have in your class games as Jenga, for example, or to have them discuss about something, or as we did in here, we went to a museum located in here in Bogota because our topic was art. So I consider that it was great for my students to go to a museum to have a closer approach to this. And in here, it was in Museo Nacional in Bogota, and there was a person that was giving the explanation in English. So that was fantastic, all right? But if not, if you don't have that possibility, so if that is in Spanish, no problem. So you can have your students reflect on this. And you see, for example, go to the museum and then have them reflect on Padlet or any other the other resources, okay? Or the Flipgrid, etc. Okay? The final thing is that your students can be the ones also creating material, right? So you can Padlet discussion, you can have them create a video, you can have them create, I mean, many things, and so that they are let's say, like more focused on their learning, right? They are in charge of their own learning. Okay, so this is the bibliography, and this is my information. Okay, so I hope that you have liked this session, that you have learned. And of course, the most important is that you can use any of the sources that I showed you, and you can let me know afterwards. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Clara. Really, really interesting topic. And we have a very a lot of action here in the chat of the webinar, so we're really happy for that. Again, thank you for sharing your work with us in this webinar. We really appreciate your time and being here with us, sharing your knowledge about this interesting topic. You talked to us about a lot of interesting things. You gave us a very complete and strong definition about what's about this topic, some characteristics, pillars, some tech tools, and a very detailed explanation about those resources that we can use in class and out of class. So we're really happy with all this information. And the participants are really active in the chat. So, but first of all, I'd like to remember our participants how to obtain the webinar certificate. You will be emailed by Ben TESOL, and you have to reply the following questions about this webinar topic. And those questions are, how many pillars does FL stand for? Number 2, mention at least 3 resources presented in the webinar. And the third question is FL considered as a pedagogical approach? So there are the questions. And now we're going to ask some questions about this topic. I invite our participants to ask some questions. In fact, they already have some questions for you, Clara. So I'm going to comment to you some of them. We have a lot of comments and ideas about some resources that our participants use in their classes. For example, Lumon says, I particularly like the self-learning apps. They give weaker students a sense of independence. Duolingo, Hello English, etc.
Right.
Also, we have Alejandro Ayala. I didn't know about Screencast-Matic, and it sounds to me very important to record and use it in class. So we're giving a new and useful information. Kahoot is a great app. I enjoy it. I enjoy using it in class. And we have a question here for you, Clara. So what is the scope of flipped learning? Do you think it will improve a student attitude apart from aptitude?
Okay. Can you repeat the question, please?
Of course.
I don't see it in the chat in here.
What is the scope of flipped learning? Do you think it will improve a student attitude apart from aptitude?
Okay. Yes. Well, according to the information that I've gotten from my students, is that they are owners of their own learning, right? And that is in terms of like improving also their attitude and aptitude, because as they let's say practice the language more, so they can also improve that, right? So that's our main goal, right? So yeah, it definitely has advantages, such as the students being monitoring their own learning, as well as for example, setting goals, right? Setting goals to the process and to improve. And for example, in my particular case, as I am training future teachers, for me it's a big responsibility, because the way that I'm teaching them, so it's how they are going to replicate that, because I'm a model for them. So, and we know that we need changes in education, so of course it has to start from there. Okay, yeah, but it has worked. Although it takes a lot of time for lesson planning, it's very worthy. It's very worthy, and students have shown that.
Okay, thank you, Clara. Diana Soto asks, what are some common mistakes at the moment to flip the classroom?
The classroom. Okay. Like many things when you start using this. First, for me, as I was saying to you, it has taken me a lot of time, to lesson plan. Honestly, I didn't mention that, but it's important to take into account, for example, Bloom's taxonomy to create the objectives of the class. So, for example, it's a common mistake not to take into account clear objectives when you start with that. Also, that another common mistake is that you want to start organizing your videos using the best software. So my recommendation is not to pay attention pretty much to the software at first, but to pay attention to the content. As I was saying to you, what do your students need? Okay, so that's important. And and then little by little you can improve your videos and to have something else, more editing features, etc. So that's different. Another common mistake is to assume that all your students are going to watch the video or to read the material beforehand. For example, in my case, in our culture, it's not very common to be very autonomous. So it's difficult for students like to become like that, and we need to create that culture. And for students, it's not easy. And you have students that say, I didn't watch the video, so what? So you need to come up with other resources or activities, like for example, to have students, you need to teach them how to work on this methodology, on these activities. For example, let's watch the video in class during the first sessions, and then little by little, so they can do it on their own, for example. Or the thing that I don't like, but sometimes if it is necessary, it's to push them with a grade or extra points if they are ready with their notes, right? From the material that you are giving to your students. So those are like the most common mistakes, or that has happened to me a lot.
Okay. Claudia Becerra, is there any of these resources offline?
Is any of these resources offline?
Offline.
Offline. Let me see. The ones that I took, no. I mean, the only ones are the ones that I said at the very end. Like, for example, having games in class, having other activities, because even Plickers that doesn't require technology from students, that's required technology from the teacher, right? So the teacher needs to have a smartphone with internet connection. So it's difficult to use any of these offline. So it's better to have like other kinds of resources instead.
Okay. We have another here. What have your students told you about the implementation of FL?
They have liked a lot. Although I haven't been like super constant using it, like all the semester, let's say. But in certain activities, I've used it, and students have liked the part of being like in charge of their own learning. So that's a very positive thing, especially because, as I told you, we need to create that culture of autonomy. And also something that they have liked is the use of technological tools a lot, because sometimes teachers are afraid of using new things because, as I told you, it may work or not. And actually, honestly, I had problems with technology, as it happened today precisely, so that I lost the connection, for example. It may happen, or maybe the Wi-Fi at the university is not working properly, or students don't have very smart smartphones, right? So, for example, that. But they have liked that, especially because they say that they could use these activities with their future students, or even in their practicum, when they start the practicum that is in 8th semester.
Okay, thank you so much, Clara. This has been a really interesting webinar. We are really thankful with you for your knowledge about this very interesting topic, and your research and your very descriptive information. We're really happy and thankful for that. So thank you so much. So I would like to close this webinar saying thank you to everyone for attending. We hope that you could have a lot of information useful and that you can apply in your classroom. Thank you to all the participants from different parts from the world. We have from Germany, Colombia. So we are really happy that you could be here with us. And on behalf of the Central American and the Caribbean based in TESOL, affiliates, and then TESOL. Thank you for joining us today. I remember you that we will post a recording of this webinar on Van TESOL social media. So we hope that you can visit it again, and in order to answer the questions to obtain the certificate. So thank you so much to all our participants today, and have a nice day, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.